James, what are the origins of the strengths approach to people management?
The origins are largely related to a field of psychology called positive psychology, which is really a rebalancing of traditional psychology, which for the last 100 years has really focused on deficits and weaknesses because it grew out of the world wars and so on. Positive psychology is really looking at how to achieve a good life, how to become everything you can possibly be, how to really focus and get the most from your strengths and your accomplishments and your potential.
Paul, what exactly is so different about this approach?
To what James has just said, actually, this approach is much more focusing on people's strengths. It's focusing on what strengthens them, what energises them, what infuses them, rather than focusing attention so much on weaker areas. But it doesn't assume that people are without weakness. Indeed, we know that people do have those. It's just providing more airtime for the strength areas, the things that really enable people to flourish.
James, can you tell us a bit more about the evidence that a focus on people's strengths really helps them to improve their performance?
Well, first of all, there's been a significant increase in the interest level in positive psychology and strengths. So you have some very large global brands now, who are working in this area, like Coca-Cola and like Tesco and Royal Bank of Scotland and Facebook and so on. But also there's a lot of robust scientific evidence that this approach actually works. For example, one study suggests that employee performance actually increases quite significantly by up to 40% when managers focus on employees' performance and personality strengths during performance appraisal discussions.
What exactly do people need to do to get the most from their strengths?
People need to move to action, do something different, take their strengths to a different level, use them in a different context. So we start with ensuring people are more aware, and then move them into action, and then help them to become more agile, so enabling them to avoid strengths going too far, so the so-called strengths in overdrive idea, and enabling them also to avoid weaknesses becoming a blocker for them, a performance blocker if you like. And finally, helping people to recognise when they've achieved something different. So there are 4 A's, if you like: awareness, action, agility, achievement, to help people get the most from their strengths.
James, what's the manager role in helping people optimise their strengths and achieve their full potential?
I think the manager's role really is to unlock the productive energy in each and every one of their employees. And they can do that in a variety of ways. I think, first of all, helping individuals really discover their strengths. Now, that may sound obvious because you might think that individuals know their strengths, but what our experience and research suggests is that people are often not aware of their strengths. So really to help them uncover and work with their strengths, to play to their strengths, to build out their strengths, and then also to give them feedback in terms of how things are going, in terms of progress, both in relation to their accomplishments and successes, but also shortfalls and opportunities to learn more about themselves. The other role, I suppose, for the manager is to help an individual to reduce their limiting weaknesses and any other performance risks, like sources of interference that actually inhibit effective performance.
Paul, does this approach mean that we should simply ignore our weaknesses and focus all our time and energy on strengths?
Absolutely not. We see this very much as a balance. So what we would like to see organisations doing more of is giving equal airtime to the strength areas, the things that really energise and infuse and engage people, as much airtime to that as to the weaker areas, the things that they need to improve or do better with. So it's about creating balance and having that balanced approach, looking at weaknesses and strengths in overdrive and performance limiters on the one side, and then the strengths, the skills, the experience that an individual brings on the other side, and ensuring that you can hit that sweet spot to increase levels of engagement, resilience, confidence and performance outcomes.
James, let's create a scenario here where my workforce is really stressed and overworked at present. How can I use the strengths-based approach to improve their morale and their motivation?
First of all, it sounds like a very familiar scenario. In terms of what the manager can do or what the organisation can do, I think, again, it's about releasing their productive energy and helping people understand how their strengths can help them through those tough times. And what our experience, again, in research will show is that when people really understand their strengths and they play their strengths, both individually but also in teams and across the whole organisation, then we find life becomes easier and people become more energised. People also find it quicker to bounce back